about Elmore delay. And Elmore delay is combination of resistance path and the node capacitance. So if you have a circuit which is cascade of RC, and if you are interested in finding out input to output delay for such a circuit, if this is node number 1, node number 2, node number 3, and this output is output. So you need to find out following things, that okay, this one is R1C1, this is R2C2, this is R3C3, and this is R4C4. If I want to find out the total propagation delay using Elmore delay technique, you need to find out the path resistance going from input to output side, which has R1, R2, R3, and R4 resistances are there. However, we have to just take those resistances which is making the subset with the resistance path which you want to have. Like if you want to have the first node is node number 1, so in that R1 is the only one which is going to be contributed. So R1 times C1, that's the Elmore delay of the path going from input to node number 1. For node number 2, it's C2 times, there are two resistances R1 and R2, so it's R1 plus R2. And similarly, you can have R1 plus R2 plus R3 times C3 plus R1 plus R2 plus R3 plus R4 times C4. That's the Elmore delay. When you want to see the output at 100%, but if you are interested at 50%, it has to be multiplied with 0.69, and that will be your propagation delay at the midpoint. So if you are giving the input from here to here, and if you are seeing the output from this point to this point, if I take the subtraction of these 2 points in time, I'm going to have this one, right? Okay. And of course, sometimes it happens that you may have some extra structure at particular node. So you need to include those also. Like if you have one more branch which is like this, which has R5 C5, then you have to write down for the node 5, there is a capacitance C5, and resistance on this path, effective resistance, is equal to R1 only. Look at this, because actually on path from input to 5, R1 and R5 are there. However, from input to output, there is only one resistance, R1. And if you are taking the subset of these two, you will have only R1. Okay, so that's how you can find out the Elmore delay. So this is the thing we have already discussed in previous lecture. Now let's look at the structure which we were working on. That there is an inverter which looks like this one, where NMOS and PMOS have been kept such a way that you can have full swing from VDD to ground, or you can say ground to VDD. Okay. But here you can see that when there is an input, depending on input, one transistor is acting as a load to the another transistor. Means when input is equal to logic 1, at that time this transistor is on, this transistor is off. And if you look at other way around, this transistor is on and this transistor is off. So actually the IV characteristic of NMOS and PMOS has to be taken into account, which is moving from, so this is for NMOS. The reverse of same is actually for PMOS. So I would have used actually the okay. So if you have the PMOS transistor, it looks like this one. Red color is PMOS, blue color is for NMOS, So both the characteristics are loading to each other depending on which particular voltage you are applying here. And note that we are not applying just one input at a time, but it might be going from 0 to VDD. Because right now I'm interested in drawing the IV characteristic. When you are doing this, both the transistors will act in a different region. Sometimes you will find that NMOS is in triode region. Sometimes you will find that it's also in saturation region when you are at the midpoint or near to the midpoint, and after that it becomes in cutoff. So it experiences all the operations, and same for PMOS also. But they are going to be like there is only one point where both will be in saturation, which is nearby the VD by 2. So nearby this point, both the transistors will be in saturation. Maybe I can draw how it looks like. If you look at the characteristic, you will understand that going from 0 to some value, PMOS is on, means it's in triode region to act as a better switch, or you can also call that one as linear region, right? And other transistor NMOS, it's in cutoff region. So till some point, after some point, I'm talking about the point from, let's say, V2 to VDD, where PMOS is in cutoff and NMOS is in triode region, or you can say it's in linear region. Notably, that particular equation has to be used to find out the required parameter. But in between this V1 and V2 is the region where PMOS and NMOS, both transistors are in saturation. So when it's in triode or in linear region, I'm writing the equation for NMOS, which will be like this. Same can be extended for the case of PMOS, right? In most of the books, they are following Kn times VGS minus VTH times VDS minus VDS square by 2. Right? Sometimes they are taking VDS outside and they are writing Kn times VDS times VGS minus VTH minus VDS by 2. Whichever equation you are saying, it's a modification of the first one only, right? Where mu and Cox are that mobility of the NMOS, and the oxide capacitance, thickness of the oxide capacitance is depending on the thickness of the oxide. So it's epsilon ox by T ox, right? So those are the things which are constant and given in the DRM. So if you are in linear region or the triode region, you are going to use this equation. If you are not in that one, if it is in saturation mode of operation, it's actually the current equation ID is equal to Kn times VGS minus VTH whole square. Note that in both the equation, I have not used the channel lag modulation. However, in reality, channel lag modulation will be there, and the equation will be as follows. You have to add one more parameter, right? So lambda VDS has to be there. Anyway, so we are not considering that, and on top of that, we are also not considering that there is a body effect. The body effect can also contribute if you are connecting source and drain, source and body of the circuit at different potential. Okay, so if you look at the characteristic, where, as I explained you, all the red curves are NMOS and all the black curves are for PMOS, where going from bottom to top, the VGS is increasing. It's going from VGS to 0 to some value, it will be there, right? So here, by the way, VDD equal to 2.5. The example which has been taken from Rabe's book, they have considered VDD equal to 2.5 volt, and that's why this characteristic is still 2.5 only. And you can say that source is connected to 0. Source is connected to always 0, and in this case, PMOS, it's connected to always VDD. That's why when you are applying VGS is actually equal to Vin, right? So that's why Vin is kept over here, and same for this one. So you have to make the intersection point with this one. When you are going to make those intersection point, you are going to see such kind of characteristic where right now I'm saying PMOS is in cutoff, NMOS is in cutoff, and PMOS is acting as a resistance. Look at this resistance. RES is actually referred by Rabe as resistance, and it's as good as writing in triode region or writing in linear region because it's acting as a ideal resistance. And you will see that after some point when input is going beyond the threshold voltage of NMOS, NMOS is acting or coming into the saturation mode of operation, and PMOS remain in the triode or linear region. So you have to go beyond the VTN. VTN is referring as the threshold voltage of NMOS, right? If you go somewhere nearby VDD by 2, when your input is nearby VDD by 2, around 1.25 or around that, where you can say that the sharp transition is coming from this to this, there is a sharp transition. So this transition shows that it's both the transistors are in saturation mode. Notably, although we are working in digital domain, however, if you are using the same circuit, and if you are using this circuit just at an input nearby VDD by 2 and having just a small signal input, small enough that the output does not go to VDD and ground, then you can use this circuit as a class AB push-pull amplifier. Maybe in the book of Rabe, he made one note that if you want to use this one as an amplifier, you need to bias it nearby VDD by 2. Okay, when both the transistors are in saturation, that's the ideal condition for any amplifier, that you have to keep all the transistors in saturation. However, for the digital circuits, we are going to keep them preferably in a triode region so that they can act as a ideal switch. So if you are going beyond this amplifying mode, means this sharp transition, you will see that NMOS is changing to the triode region where PMOS is going in saturation, and some point where you are reaching VDD minus VTH, this PMOS becomes cut off and NMOS remain in the triode region. I believe people should not have doubt on this, right? If you have doubt, you can stop me here. Otherwise, we can go further. Okay. If there is no doubt.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, so if we bias it at VDD by 2, then we can use it as a push-pull amplifier.
Yes, you can use it as a push-pull amplifier, but note that amplifier works on the small signal input. So this input has to be small enough that output is also showing the amplified version without touching VDD. One side VDD and one side ground, right? So input has to be small signal. VDD by 2 plus, I'll write down this, that it has to be small signal. If it is large signal, then again, you cannot use it because If it is large signal, then it will experience all the states which is written here, right? So majorly there are 5 states or the 5 combination of NMOS and PMOS region of operations. So they are going to change the states.
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay. By the way, this is also a common source amplifier. For your information, this is also a common source amplifier. But this is the common source amplifier where NMOS is acting as a load for the PMOS case and PMOS is acting as a load for the NMOS case. And its input common mode voltage is actually the mid range. It's not beyond that. But its input common mode range is very tiny. You can see here. You can bias it only in this point. If you're going beyond that, you are either at one side or zero side. Right? Okay. Now let's compare.
Sir,
Yeah. Anything left?
sir, sir, it will be having a negative gain only, right?
Yes, yes. This will be negative. That's why it's inverter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me. But this, okay, if you are giving the positive, then output has to be negative. That's true. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, somebody was asking a question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, this graph is only for the fixed value of V input or any general value of V
This
input?
is general V input. Look, there are only, I can see 4 terminals in this amplifier or in this inverter. So one is this one is this one is this one, and one is this one, right? When we are doing this, actually we are doing this also, right? So one is input, 2 is DC quantity, 3 is also DC quantity. So one is only the place where we are changing it, and it's, yeah, universally this should work. This plot is from going from 0 to VDD, where VDD equal to 2.5. So
Then, sir, is there any general value of this point where the NMOS is set saturation and PMOS set the resistance?
yeah, this is a universal thing, right? So these values might be going here and there, but 0 to VDD, it will act this way only. These values will depend on the threshold voltage or the threshold voltage of PMOS and NMOS, and then you can draw accordingly.
It means their relation with the threshold voltage.
We have relation with that.
Threshold voltage of PMOS and NMOS of this point.
I don't understand your question. Can you tell me one more time?
Sir, it means this input voltage will be related to the threshold voltage of PMOS and NMOS, where the NMOS will be in saturation region, PMOS in the triode region.
Of course. Yeah. So it depends on the technology. It's depend
Okay.
on the technology. So these numbers might be changing. If you want to have the universal kind of characteristic, this is going from 0 to VDD. This might be somewhere VDD minus VTP. This might be VTN, and this is 0. Or you can write down even not 0 if you wish. You can write down VSS. Right?
Yes.
And this has to be VSS plus VTN in that case. So this will become the universal plot, which is moving from VDD to VSS. Okay. This is universal, and this is V in, and this is V out. Right? Is it okay? Does it make sense or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So as already we got some question here, we don't want to keep our transistor in this domain, although we cannot avoid it. Look, it will be there, right? Both will be in saturation. That is not our desired thing. We want that either it will be VDD or ground, because we want to identify the logic 1 and logic 0. So in this region, PMOS act as a like resistance, or it's in triode region, and NMOS is in cutoff. Whereas in this case, NMOS is in triode and PMOS is in cutoff. Notably, I am not talking about the region which is here, which is the area of interest for all analog design engineer. They want to amplify the signal, but I am interested in these two region only, where PMOS is in triode, so it's as good as look like resistance whose name is ROP. RO is on resistance of PMOS, and I may have the on resistance of NMOS, which is in triode. I'm going to call that one as RON. When it's in cutoff, it's as good as open circuit, or you can say that the resistance is infinite, right? So if we are doing that, and if we are interested in those two particular region where Vin equal to VDD, when this in that case NMOS is actually in triode region or acting as a switch whose name they are keeping RN and RP. So instead of RO and ROP, please consider them as RN and RP, and PMOS as cutoff, or it will have infinite resistance. So it's as good as open circuit. Okay. And similarly here, when Vin equal to 0, this PMOS act as a switch, whereas NMOS is in off state, right? So these two are the possibility. If you are in, let's assume that we are only talking about the first one where Vin equal to 0, right? Moreover, just assume that everywhere, wherever we are taking the output, it will have some load. Load will be capacitive. So this load, I kept it and I call it load capacitance CM. When I am in this state where Vin equal to 0 volt or the digital logic 0, I know that V out is going to be, so I'm talking about the second part, when Vin equal to 0, because of that these two things happen and V out becomes digital logic 1. If I want to make that digital logic 1, it's not happening instantaneously that this becomes V out as logic 1. But what is going to happen? Let's assume that initially V out is connected to 0 volt initially, and afterwards, so this is V out. If I am drawing V in is equal to 0 volt. So I want to give 0 volt, but what is happening after some time, some finite delay, this will start going towards logic 1, and there is a path of this V out which will go to VDD or approaching to VDD. If you remove this switch, it exactly look like this one. That's why we are always studying the RC circuits. So here there is VDD and here it's V out. So VDD has to transfer over here. Maybe like it becomes 1 after some times, but it will take some time to go to 1, and it will follow something like this. Notably, this time constant will be 0.69 RP times CL. That's the propagation time to go from V in from maybe 1 to 0. But if you are moving further, when input is becoming 0 to 1, then the first case will be there where PMOS will become off and NMOS will become as a resistance. So what is going to happen? This PMOS is of, and NMOS has a finite resistance Rn. This node is right now, look at this node is right now at VDD. Because of this thing, this path should go to 0, because now this dynamics has changed. This is 0 and it has to be connected other way around, and this node is actually 0. So it has to go from VDD to 0. When it's going from VDD to 0, it takes some time, having some time constant. With the first order system, note that this is first order, so there will not be any fluctuations or transient can be seen, but it will be first order only. And this time constant which is required going from 1 to 0, that will be again 0.69 times Rn times Cl. We are doing this with the fact that we are checking the time constant at 50%. If you are interested to see at 100%, then this will not be 0.69, it will be Rp times Cl, in this case Rn times Cl, right? And in other way around, if it is at some other point like 90%, if you want to find out the rise time which is going from 0 to 90%, you have to try for 90%, and similarly for this one also, for fall time you have to see from 100% to 10%, right? So that will give you the fall time. So if you are interested in rise time and fall time, those numbers TR and TF are depending on these points, which is at 90%, in this case 100 to 10%. Whereas if you are interested in the propagation delay, so look at this this point which is going from logic 0 to logic 1. So this time constant is required whenever the PMOS is on. In that case, this will be low to high, and it signifies that propagation delay from low to high is equal to 0.69 Rp times Cl. Whereas if you are interested in finding out the propagation delay going from high to low, which is associated with NMOS, then it becomes Rn times Cl. But right now we are only talking about one inverter. However, we are going to use maybe like 3 input, 4 input, NAND gate and other things. These numbers will be changed, and we have to find out according to the Elmore delay, right? So we are going to discuss that in the next chapter, but right now let's understand inverter thoroughly. Right now, whatever I taught till now, most of the things were intuition. So you can understand the things with the intuition, but some of the numbers has to be understood, like propagation delay you understand with the numbers, but other things like noise margin, then switching threshold, leakage, power leakage, then dynamic power, all these things we are going to talk in the next few slides or next few maybe 1 or 2 lectures. Okay, so there are charging and discharging path, and through which you can find out the values of propagation delay. But right now this path only has the resistance of Rn and Rp. If you are interested in finding out the resistance Rp and Rn, that is only possible with the fact that the current flowing through this particular branch is equal to like Kp times VSG, mode of VSG minus VTH times VSD minus VSD square by 2. Right? You can keep all these mod. Okay. So when you are taking this derivative of ID with respect to VSD or VDS, you are going to have the resistance. For this case, it's Rp. For this case, it's del ID by del VDS. This is going to give me Rn. Okay, so this is these are the equations. I'm not going into that, but if you are having any difficulty, we can discuss. You can write me if you are getting difficulty in finding out this. Same thing must be discussed, I believe, that in analog circuit design also, like CMOS analog IC design, and this is same equations which you have studied previously in your course, right? Okay. By the way, this Rn will be in proportion to the reciprocal of W by L, by the way. When you are going to see the equation, it will be like this. Okay. So,
Sir,
yes.
sir, what happens when we connect capacitor between
Sorry,
VDD
I
and
lost
the
your
Vout?
voice. What happened? Can you repeat your answer? Question.
What happens when we connect capacitor between VDD and the Vout?
VDDN.
Vout.
What do you want to connect in between?
Capacitor.
VDDN. You can connect it. It's a problem. You can connect it. Then you have to change the analysis. You have to find out there are two capacitors, so the Elmore delay will be different, right? Or look, then you have to decompose this such a way that it becomes a lump model, right? This capacitor is depending on the third quantity, by the way, right? It's depending on the, what is the distance between these two, and this is variable kind of thing right now. So it can be done by the distributed only. You have to convert it to lump.
Sir,
When you're
but we
going to
measure
convert it
the
to
out
lump,
always with ground, na?
sorry?
Sir,
Hello?
but we measure V out with respect to ground always. So,
Yes, we out. Okay, you are saying here one capacitor. Then it's very easy, like addition of these two capacitors, right? Then it's not a big issue. The issue occurs when you are saying one capacitor from here to here. Then you have to decompose that, right?
Okay, sir. Can we not break the capacitor in two parts using the Miller's theorem when we connect between the VDD and Vout?
Yeah, Miller theorem, but we are not using Miller here. You're right. You can do that. But Miller theorem is applicable when there is an amplification from here to here. Is there any amplification?
No.
I don't see any amplification. Look, from this path or, sorry,
there is no gain here. Sir.
maybe from this path. So Miller theorem only works when there is an amplification from path A to path B or path X to Y. And if there is an impedance connected here, then you can decompose that both sides, right? Right now, there is nothing like amplification. First of all, it's a switch. So R coming in parallel of like R in shunt with capacitor. That's it. It's not an amplifier, unfortunately.
Okay, sir.
If you understand this, where is that? Okay. So if you are on the top side, you can see it's in triode or linear region. If you are like NMOS characteristic is here, and if this is the path which is VGS minus VTH, as I told you at the beginning itself, we are not going to keep our transistor here where it's in saturation, but in analog circuit designing where you want to make the amplifier, your transistor has to be biased over here only, not here. But in our case, where we want to have the exact replica of VDD to output and ground to output, in that case, it has to be the ideal switch. If it is something else, it does not work, right? So that way, this is not a Miller. You have to use some other technique. Maybe with time, if it is coming, I'll explain that. Okay, because till now I have not added the parasitic capacitors included by the PMOS or NMOS. Right now, just it's a switch model which does not have any capacitor. When we are going to add that, things will be changed. Then I'm not going to use this load capacitor. I'm going to use the self-loading capacitive condition. Okay. So while doing all this, like generally what I do, if I explain this particular thing to all my students, generally we do the experiment in the laboratory. Laboratory means the real laboratory, not in the on simulated things. So generally we use CD407. Those who have done courses with me, they know that there is one IC called CD407 where there are NMOS and PMOSs are given with values are in 10 micrometer, by the way. Channel length is actually 10 micrometer. So using that, like long back, some of my students did the experiment, and they have seen the characteristic of an inverter on oscilloscope. So maybe I can show you how does it look like. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. Some of my students of 2012 batch, they have did this experiment, and note that when you are doing this experiment where you want to see V in with respect to V out, it's a small trick that you have to use the XY mode of operation. You cannot do it in X with channel X and channel Y, because channel X and channel Y both are with respect to time. If you remember, oscilloscope can only work with time, where one is channel X, one is channel Y. Some people call it horizontal channel, one is calling vertical channel because of its arrangement in the oscilloscope, right? And if you are doing with X with respect to Y, you can have the XY mode, and you can have such characteristic. So when they have done such characteristic, they found out that this is very small region of input where there is an amplification. So you can see that it's very sharp, whereas this was going from minus some value, maybe minus 5 volt to plus 5 volt. Okay, let me see. Sorry, it has to be minus 2.5 to plus 2.5, because each box is of 500 millivolts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's around minus 2.5 volt to plus 2.5 volt, right? So we have done this experiment, and in laboratory, this is the thing we got it. One more thing, while giving the input, if I want to characterize this in the laboratory, we have to give the ramp input going from 0 to VDD, or going from minus VSS to VDD. This has to be the voltage with respect to the time. Generally, you can give such kind of input, right? And you have to see the output. How does it look like? And then you have to see V out with respect to V in, means in the XY mode. So this is channel X, this is channel Y, right? So channel Y with is going to give you such kind of behavior. But note that you could have thought that why not some other input, right? You could have thought of maybe sine wave, right? You could have thought of giving sine wave, but sine wave has some problem, right? Because it's not linearly going up. Here what we want to give is linear input, which is moving from 0 to VDD and again coming from VDD to ground. It has to be linear. If you give other one, that will also give you output, but points will be at the different point. Here you can see that there are lots of points are there, and points are spaced away with each other with some value. This is generally in if you look at the oscilloscope whose sampling is 1 GSPS, so all these points are coming with the spacing of 1 nanosecond. Okay, and the bandwidth of this oscilloscope which has been used is 50 megahertz. So if you want to have the better spacing and better output, which is not moving here and there, otherwise what will happen, you cannot fix this this pattern at a stationary image. Sometimes people are also using such kind of things which is known as Lissajous pattern, right? Those who have studied Lissajous pattern in your BTech, maybe first year, second year, right? So you must have experienced that while keeping in XY mode, these images are moving, they are not becoming stationary. If you want to make it stationary, how to have such kind of ramp input with very low frequency. And oscilloscope has its own fixed sampling frequency at 1 GSPS. So we have to make sure that it's a multiple on, like it's following the the Nyquist rate so that you can see the stationary image. So all such things needs to be fixed over here so that you can have the characteristic as you want. Now that was only the one thing, but if you look at the travel from logic 0 to logic 1, you can see that logic 0 to logic 1, when we have drawn it, it was like this in our notebook with the Elmore delay, and I was saying that look, going from 0 to 1 means this is TP LH and it's equal to 0.69 RP times CL. This is what just now we learn it, but we also learned that this is happening because of it's a first order effect. But you can see in practical things, it's not a first order thing, but it's a second order or it's a higher order thing because of which we are seeing the such kind of fluctuations. So how these fluctuations are coming? Because we have not considered the fact that NMOS and PMOS are actually at high frequency thing. They are not working at right now low frequency, where we have considered this one with just a resistance. But you are going to have so many parasitics, overlap capacitance, junction capacitance, and other things. So when you are going to add those things, you might have experienced this thing. On top of that, the probe will have its own dynamics, and when it's going to be connected here, altogether it becomes a second order, right? So all these things are depending on that. So that has to be found out. So let's go to the next understanding, which is saying that we need to understand the static behavior. That's why still we are moving with V in with respect to V out characteristic. We are not looking the characteristic with respect to time. When we are going to look at the characteristic with respect to time, we will be involved with TPHL, TPLH equation in thoroughly, right? So right now, if it is static behavior, the first thing is switching threshold. We have to understand the fact that this inverter is VDD and this is ground. So if you are increasing this voltage from 0 to VDD as an input, we understand that the output is actually changing the state at some point of time, right here. So that potential, we are going to call it VM. This potential where the output switches from 1 to 0. But in this case, V in and V out has to be exactly equal. Means if this is 1.25, this also has to be equal to 1.25. This requires some sort of tuning of the NMOS and PMOS. Right now we have not learned it, but when we are going to do the simulation, we will learn that. But let's assume that switching threshold is the point where V in equal to V out. What does it exactly mean is, if you are applying input, which is look like this one, I'm expected to see, okay, see the expected to see V in and V out changing at the same time. So if you want to do that, how to do that, all these things we'll study in the design part. But right now, this is the definition. Switching threshold is the one when V in and V out becomes equal, and we are going to call that point as VM point, right? When it makes the changing of the state. Okay, so now one few more things, like both the transistors are in saturation mode of operation when you are interested in finding out the switching threshold, because V in and V out are same. This is only happening when PMOS and NMOS both are in saturation or at the midpoint, right? Notably, when this thing is happening, VGS and VDS are exactly equal. Look at this. If you know that Vin is equal to, let's say this is VDD and which is equal to 5 volt. So if this is 2.5 volt, this is 2.5 volt, right? Because input and output has to be equal to find out the switching threshold. So right now switching threshold is 2.5 volt, which is adjusted at V in and V out. If you look at the gate side of PMOS, this is equal to 2.5 volt, right? Going from here, if I'm taking this one, right? Because mod of VSG is equal to VGS. And in this case, again, it's 2.5 volt. If I'm looking at VDS, both sides it's 2.5 volt. So that's why I wrote the general equation that VGS will become VDS, and this is only valid for an inverter. What we are doing is only for inverter. However, this analysis is expected to be extended for all the gates, all the sequential circuits, and then we will see. In that case, these numbers might be changed. But right now, whatever I've written, it's only for inverter. So non-presence of channel modulation and body effect. This is what we are saying. And when we are doing this, we assume that the body of both the transistors are connected to the source of the respective transistor, right?